Welcome back to the Tide Hanger. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the most hypocritical statement I've ever heard any collector utter, and I'm hearing it a lot these days. And that statement is that I don't collect for value. And I hear that, I see other YouTubers saying it. I'm not going to call anyone out or anything. And I also see it in their comments. I see it on the Facebook groups. I have to admit, G.I. Joe Classified is where you see it the most right now, and I understand there's a lot of pain and there's a lot of pleasure in that line, and we'll be talking about that. But I stopped to analyze, why is the last 6 weeks just a massive uptick in the use of that phrase? Now, you watch my channel, you know I don't use that phrase because I think it's really silly. But why would somebody use the phrase of, I don't collect for value? Well, kind of thinking it might be kind of a self-righteous thing. Like, and my collecting is pure and clean, and I'm having a spiritual event over here. Oh, y'all dirty, nasty heathens over there, you scoundrels, are scoundreling around and more worried about what something costs or the value of items than just enjoying it. Well, I thought that might be the factor, but I actually think I know why. It's more of a coping mechanism for what's going on right now, and I really think that's what it is. We're going to get into that. But we're going to talk about this statement of not collecting for value, which is a fallacy. It's a falsehood. It's a narrative that shouldn't be. Okay, if you collect Star Wars Black Series, then I guess you definitely don't collect for value. But let's get into talking about this silly topic coming up. So the first of my many points is the fact that if you buy something with your hard-earned money, you reallocate funds from buying a new car, a new couch, or putting in a swimming pool, or whatever your family would rather you do with the money, but you buy something like this. It could be vintage, it could be modern, it could be any of this kind of stuff, but you reallocate funds to buy it, you have then assigned a value to it. So people that say, I don't collect for value, well, you've assigned a value to this. So there's a value component, a value play in your collecting, whether you want there to be or not. We live in the real world, and you had to pay money for it. So did you get this thing for $400 back when they were selling for $400? You're getting them now, and people are asking $9. I don't think it's worth anything near $900. I think $400 is the most that this thing should ever go for, complete, unbroken. But that's just my opinion. But with that, the other thing is, once you buy something on eBay, people are going to go back to eBay, right? And they're going to look at it and they're going to say, oh, well, how much did this sell for on eBay? And when they do that, they are now looking at the value play, the value component that you created by buying this item. And it's up for 3 months. So like every 3 months, it sort of resets itself. You get a new fresh batch of numbers. But you don't collect for value, you're affecting the value. So the next point that I want to make with all these people that say, I don't collect for value, they end up seeing figures for $5 and they're helping themselves to buying quite a few of them. Now, this picture is terrible. There's not a lot of stuff there for $5 you want to buy, but they're still not bad figures for $5. And I got to tell you that I picked a couple extras up for $5, and I'm not thinking these are ever going to be worth anything. I mean, maybe they're worth $2. I actually found some of these for $2 at a Walmart. But all these people that say they don't collect for value, I see them picking up 2 and 3 extra figures when they go on sale like this, because that's proof right there that value means a lot to them, that a value is very important to them in their collecting. The reason I say that this phrase is a coping mechanism is because people are probably feeling the exact same way that I do. I bought Sergeant Slaughter and an extra one when they were first at Hasbro Pulse, or exclusive or whatever, and I paid the full $33 or whatever stupid price it was, stupid expensive price it was, because in my mind, I was thinking, well, I really want this figure. There's no other avenue to get it. I had no idea Ollie's would get them for $13. And with that, somebody evidently bought quite a few of them. But that is one of those things that I felt betrayed by Hasbro. I felt really shafted, bamboozled. But more about this other 3-pack. Now, I bought this thing full price. And 3 months later, with the $50 on Amazon and other places, and there were some sales on this, and I felt bamboozled. I felt like I was shafted by Hasbro. I was betrayed by Hasbro. And I had no idea that this thing would be $50-something. Now people are getting them at Ross for $15. Now, I've never seen them. Maybe I'm just not going early enough in the morning or whatever. I don't have an inside hookup or whatever. We'll see what happens on my road trip. I hope to snag a couple of them. But this is mind-blowing that a $80, which costs $90 after tax, is $15. And this is a coping mechanism to say, well, I just don't. I don't. I don't collect for value, so I'm not worried that I paid 90 for it. That's what I'm thinking is going on here. That's what I think is going on. But I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt. When I first started collecting back in 1996, I set a limit of $5 per figure. That's the most I would spend because the ones in the store were $5. And I was like, if I can get a vintage one for $5, I'll pick up a vintage one for $5. Most of them were bare bones, missing all accessories. And I was going for the first 77. It took me like 2 years to find them for $5 each. And the reason that I wouldn't dive in deeper until later on, I think I bought a C3PO and an R2 for 12 each, but I didn't want to buy more expensive figures, was because I personally felt like they had no value. Like, the only value was what my enjoyment of it, and that if I needed to sell my whole collection, I would be giving it away for half of what I paid. And with that, I did not want to spend very much on it. And I didn't run around saying I don't collect for value, but I can tell you right now that I limited my budget to $5 a figure because I was trying to save up and have a stronger financial future. So I do hear this phrase in the Transformer community when they talk about KOs. They just say, well, I don't really collect for value. KOs usually do not appreciate in value. And I think that's like one of the few places where that makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm going to buy the KO instead of buying it for $250 and I go get a KO for 100 or 80 or 70. And you are buying that knowing that at the end when you want to sell it, you're probably only going to get $20 for it. That's just the way it is for the most part when it comes to Transformers. And I think it's a much different world in Transformers because the KOs are so prevalent. It's really hard to go right now into the G.I. Joe Classified world and get a KO of every figure. You can get a couple of the Snake Supreme, Cobra Commander, some of those. So there are some figures in G.I. Joe Classified get knocked off, but every single Takara figure get knocked off, and you can just go get it for, in some cases, $30, $40, depending on which figure it is. And it's a pretty good quality. So that's one area where I see it, and it makes sense. Next thing I want to say is if you keep your figures sealed. Now, there's that whole adage where you buy one to keep sealed, one to open up, and one just in case. That's the value play to sell for if it goes up, right? Or to trade. Well, if you keep it sealed, then value's top of your mind. Now, I want to tell you this, that I like having sealed figures because I like looking at figures like I saw them in the store when I first saw them in the store. The packaging is a big deal for back in the day. But when I collect vintage stuff, I don't want to pay the triple or 1,000 time premium, depending on which figure it is. I don't want to pay that massive premium to get it in the package, so I collect mostly loose when it comes to vintage. But when it comes to modern stuff, if you're already going to buy it in the package, I like to have most of it in the package. I like to have it the way it looks, except for this dark time where we had no plastic. So next thing I want to talk about value play. Mostly this is for vintage collectors, but the need to have everything 100% complete. You have to have your collection with every single accessory, and it has to be complete. Now that's a value play. Also, with collectors, I do understand the complete on the shelf looks so much better than bare bones figures. I understand all of that. But we're going to get into the second half of the needing it to be complete. But a lot of times people are more concerned about the value of their vintage figures and having every piece complete, everything in absolute perfect condition, because it's going to be worth a lot more. I hear that all the time, and when vintage, I think splitting it between vintage and modern is a little bit different topic and discussion, but I'm hearing it equally between both sets of collectors. The second half of the discussion of having your figures complete and having the value play is the repro situation. So I don't really think anything cuts deeper to the value, the I don't collect for value, than the repro. So if you truly don't collect for value, then you have absolutely no problem with reproduction parts. And with that, I have tons of reproduction parts on my figures because I just don't want to spend $40 for each one of these little parts. Some of these might only be $7 or $12, but you could buy this whole set of reproductions for $32 and outfit your whole shelf of figures with their original looking accessories that look great. I think they're made with pretty high quality. But if you're more concerned about value and you collect for value, then you're not going to want these repros. And that's all there is to it. Then you collect for value if you have to have original only. All right, so now we really are going to separate the men from the boys here when it comes to this whole topic, and ladies can be in on it too. When you go to sell your collection, and you're one of the holier than thou people that I don't collect for value, this is when you really start to see the substance of the person. If you didn't collect for value, then what would your first stop be when you go to sell something? Would it be your purchase history and how much did I pay for it, so I just want to break even and get out of it? Or are you putting it up and saying, you know what, since I don't collect for value, I'm just giving all these away because I don't collect for value. You know, it's so hypocritical because almost 100% of the time, the first stop is eBay. Almost 100% of the time. The first stop for everyone that says they don't collect for value stops at eBay when they're going to sell something. And I find that very disingenuous because the fact that they tout this phrase over and over and over, they carve it on a plaque for themselves, and they give themselves a blue ribbon and a bow because they don't collect for value, but yet they're asking top dollar for their stuff. Now, I don't have any problem with somebody asking top dollar for their stuff. I only have an issue with people acting like they're holier than thou, but they're doing the same thing every other collector does. Now, I'm going to tell you, I am not holier than thou. I have gotten every deal I can. I took advantage of every possible deal that I could possibly take advantage of and try to get things as cheap as I can. And I buy stuff from people when they're selling it and I get good deals and I'm actually looking for that exact thing and I bought it, but I'm not a saint. But I can tell you this right now. This is 2023. I've had more people message me after we're done with our deal and they tell me that they thank me for helping them out. I didn't know I was helping them out. I thought I was buying an action figure. I thought I was buying a playset. I thought I was buying this. And they're like, thanks for helping my small business who's been struggling. Thank you for helping me because I needed to pay my rent. Thank you for helping me buying that because I had bills to pay. Another thing I'm noticing is a lot of people that are selling right now, they are flippers. They have flip in the name. We're about to get into resellers. We're about to roll right into resellers. But one thing about flippers is that they want to get it and flip it. So let's talk about that. Whether you're buying from a dealer at a Comic-Con, you're buying from a local toy shop, or you're buying from somebody on the Facebook or someone on eBay or whatever, some of these people that say they don't collect for value, these are some of the same people that are anti-resellers, that say resellers shouldn't exist. And then they go as far as saying scalpers and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, where's the line? Where's the dividing line between a reseller and a scalper? They are exactly one and the same. There is no difference. Anyone who resells can be accused of scalping, and anyone scalping is actually reselling. But when I get into this, I gotta say, the people that attack resellers, so you think that if you didn't happen to stumble across that one aisle or that one place where that one item was available to be purchased, you didn't go to that one garage sale that one time back in 1993 where the one item was available, that nobody should be able to make it available to the rest of the world. And I 100% disagree with that. So when it comes to this, though, resellers are a big part of what keeps the hobby going. And yes, sometimes they take advantage of the deal and they way overprice their stuff, and you just keep on going. You keep on scrolling on the Facebooks. You keep on walking right past their booth if they're asking $400 for something that you think is only worth $100. That's just the way it is. But all these people that say they don't click for value, they love to attack resellers. Now, I do want to say, I want to touch on that flipping thing. I've bought from a lot of people that have something like Southwest Flips or Northeast Flips or East Tennessee Flips or some weird name in there. And I got to tell you, when I see that, I know that they're going to give me the best deal. And I'm going to tell you why they give you the best deal. The people that have flip in their name and they're flippers, they want to get that item, they want to double their money, they want to move on to the next item, and they want to flip, 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 flip. They don't want to sit and hold. They have no emotional attachment to it. Buying from a collector is a lot harder because a collector has an emotional attachment to it. And there's an emotional attachment, but it's also tethered with the value play. And with that, these people say they don't collect for value. They're holding on to their stuff at a much higher price than someone that doesn't care about it at all. A person who doesn't care about it at all is, i.e., a flipper, and that's where I found my best deals this year. But this should make everybody feel good that say, I don't collect for value. Because there's going to be a day where pretty much all the stuff we collect is worthless. It may be 20 years, it may be 100 years from now, but there will be a day that the stuff that we're spending thousands of dollars on, nobody's going to want to give you $1 for it. And that's just the way it is. The next generation is not going to collect the way we collect, and we are the last generation of this level of collectors. And when it comes to the future generations, their level of collecting will be a different type of item than what we collect right now, and I can't even predict that. Won't be NFTs either. Trust me, NFTs are not the wave of the future. But with that, knowing your collection will eventually be worthless should make you feel really good that you don't collect for value. Anyway, I'm curious what you think about this topic. Do you say this phrase a lot? Is this something that you hear a lot? Have you noticed the uptick in the last 6 weeks? Do you think it's because of all of the ollies and Ross sells? And for those of you who do like a good value, there's some figures going on sale at Walmart for G.I. Joe Classified. But anyway, like and subscribe to Deer Hanger out.